जातवेदसे सुनवाम सोममराति यतो निदहाति वेदः स नः परषदति दुर्गाणि विश्वा नावेव सिन्धुन्दुरितात्यग्निः तामग्निवर्णान् तपसाञ्ज्वलन्तीं वैरोचनीन् कर्मफलेषु जुष्टाम् दुर्गां देवीगुं शरणमहं प्रपद्ये सुतरसि तरसे नमः अग्ने त्वं पारयानव्यो अस्मान् स्वस्तिभिरति दुर्गाणि विश्वा पूश्च पृथिवी बहुला न उर्वी भवातोकायतन्याय संयोः विश्वानि नो दुर्गः जातवेदसिन्धुन्ननावा दुरितातिपरशि अग्ने अत्रिवन्मनसा घृणानोऽस्माकं बोध्यविता तनूनां प्रतनाजितगुं सहमानमुग्रमग्निगुं हुवेम परमात्सदस्थात् स नः परषदति दुर्गाणि विश्वा क्षामद्देवो अतिदुरितात्यग्निः प्रत्नोषि कमीड्यो अध्वरेषु सनाच्च होता नव्यश्च सत्सि स्वाञ्चाग्ने तनुवं पिप्रयस्वास्मभ्यञ्च सौभगमा यजस्व गोभिर्जुष्टमयुजो निषिक्तन्तवेन्द्र विष्णोरनुसञ्चरेम नाकस्य पृष्ठमवि संवसानो वैष्णवीर्लोक इहामादयन्ताम् कात्यायनाय विद्महे कन्याकुमारी धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गिः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। जय माँ सरस्वती सर्वेभ्यः आप सभी को साधुवाद. Welcome everybody to this channel. Today we have an important guest. She is an ex-Muslim and she is from WAFM group and she's already here. So let us welcome her. Good morning, Lynn. Welcome to our channel.
Good morning. Everybody can hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Please, I can hear you very, very well. Audience, please let us know if you can hear her properly. Please, somebody comment whether they can hear her properly or not. Can you hear her fine? I don't know what language they're writing here. Some people are writing some other
That's
language.
Indonesian language.
Oh, okay.
They are from the group. They are from my group.
Yes. So
okay,
we got.
I can hear.
Thank you, Amrit. Yes. So Lynn is the admin of WAFM group. I will. This is her website. And Lynn, you're most welcome again. Please introduce yourself a little about your background.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Pretty. Pretty Ning. Shall I call you Pretty Ning?
You can just call me Pretty. Pretty.
Pretty. Yes. Thank you, Pretty, for inviting me. I don't have much to talk about my background. I grew up in a Muslim family, and of course, I'm a Muslim, and I rear as a strict Muslim. So my family already introduced me how to read the Quran since I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. So, and we have to memorize at least the opening prayer or Al-Fatiha, and everything has to be memorized. You know, when you see the Muslim praying 5 times a day, all of those prayers in Arabic you have to memorize. You don't have to understand what you were praying for and who prayed to. as long as you memorize, that's all that matter.
So my basic understanding is, Lynn, that you're from Indonesia and you're an Indonesian Muslim. I did a project on Indonesia, so I know a little bit about Indonesia, not much.
Well, how do you learn about Indonesia? What did you find out about Indonesia?
I remember I took anthropology as one of my subjects in engineering. We had to take two subjects which were not connected with engineering. So anthropology, you are those people, anthropologists, who go and live in a culture which they don't know about and quietly observe that culture without affecting their culture, like not introducing their own habits and just quietly observing them. And I read one of my chapters was on Indonesia, that this anthropologist lived there and he saw how people fought those cocks and roosters fighting with knives stuck on their legs and things like that. So
Yeah, that most likely that would be in Bali Islands, where you will find a lot of rooster fightings, and that's become a tradition in Bali Island on the rooster fighting. But in most of part in Indonesia, we don't do that anymore. Um, Indonesia are the most hospitality people. I mean, the majority, the average people. Indonesia, if you separate Indonesia from the religion, Indonesia are the most hospitality
right.
people in the whole world, and they would love to host you. Um, they are polite because we taught to be polite. If
Yeah.
you separated the people from the religion, you will find the nicest people on earth. But when you combine the religion and the religion take over the people, that when you see a totally different things. The hospitality, it seems like no longer there. The nicest people, it turned to be the most deceiving people. So, like I say, if you go far away from the city, if you go, say, to the most privileged place, you still find those people. But if you go to the places where the religion or the majority of religions are so thick, most likely you will find far away from hospitality. Yeah.
I
I'm
know
sorry.
that they
I have
celebrate
to say that,
Ramayan.
and I have to say that. I have to say that because um, I was there, and I see it for itself, and seeing what Indonesia right now is becoming, it breaks my heart.
I know they celebrate Ramayan. They have Ram Leela and all this, and they had coins of Ram, the deities, the Hindu deities, on their coins. So I know that. So
Yeah, the
majority of
Hindu
people in
in the Bali
Indonesia are
Island,
Muslims.
yeah, the majority are Muslims,
Right.
but they are, like I say, Bali Islands still hold the how do you call it? The Hinduism, still hold the tradition, still hold their ancient religion, which is Hindu, and they are very hospitable. I mean, the nicest people. Many time I went to Bali Islands before Islam infiltrate Bali Island. Bali Island can be the safest place that you can be, but since Islam's of infiltrate Bali Island, it's like no longer different than any other place in Indonesia. You have to be really careful, and a lot of pickpocket, a lot of trickery trick, in Bali Island. You just have to be very careful. If you don't know anyone in Bali Island, I suggest you not to go. If you know somebody, then that somebody has to be somebody that you trust and knows
Right.
around Bali Island, then you can go to Bali Island. I
So
myself
maybe
cannot
the
go there.
it's because people are dependent on tourism, and that's their
Yes,
only means of yes. So you
yes,
grew up in a very strict Muslim environment. And how many
correct.
siblings were you?
I'm by myself. I'm
You
the
were the
only
only
child.
child? Wow.
Yes.
So you had to memorize Quran without understanding the meaning.
You don't need to understand. In Islam, you don't need to understand what you're reading, what you're praying. As long as you memorize, as long as you speak Arabic, then Allah will heal you. Period.
Then what happened afterwards? Did you study? How much did you study? And did you have religion as your one of your subjects? Or
Well, my I went to school as an international school, so I study language and culture, and I study some culture, including India's culture,
mm,
and I study the Hinduism culture as well because that's my major studying cultures other than Indonesia. So that was not my major at that time in religion. But as you grow up and your parents expect you to be what do you call it, the in religiosity, so I study more. I study more. I finished reading, just reading the Quran from Al-Fatihah to An-Nas, which is from Surah 1 to Surah 114, from 1 juz to juz number 33.
mm,
I finished those, and the ustads, or the leader of the Islamic community, allow me to teach how to read, from alphabetical, Arabic alphabetical to the fluent one. But then I realized, hey, I don't understand what I read, and at that time, Quran with translation are not popular. Only certain people have access to the Quran with translation.
mm,
So, and they are um, not popular and very strict to own that particular Quran. So one of my friend from high school introduced me to this, like a group, a group of a Muslim, and over there they have the Quran with the translation, and I study the Quran in the Arabic and also in the translation, and we study more in the translation.
mm.
And the more I study, the more I becoming um, radical. When you
Yeah.
study the Quran and you have a desire for your
Mm.
God, you have a desire to follow your religion, you become an extreme, and
Yes.
that what I
I have a
was. I
question.
become an extreme.
In India,
Yes.
like they have religious schools called madrasas. So many Muslim children, they don't even go to regular schools. They go to this religious school, and in that religious school, the teacher, he beats the hell out of students, and he makes them memorize. They even say that the parents, they expect their children to be beaten. They say that the flesh is yours, the bones are ours. So they make them memorize, and some of the girl students, they have teachers come to their home and teach them Quran. So did you have this madrasa type of education, or any teacher came to your house to teach you Quran?
No, no, that's called madrasa or pesantren. Yeah. How do you call in English? Pesantren is like
Center,
boarding
boarding.
boarding
Yeah, yeah,
school. Yeah, like a boarding school.
yeah.
They're taught only Islam, and their discipline is more like abusive, not a
Yes.
discipline. And also, in that place, in that boarding school, So much so happen uh, sexual abuse, whether
Yes.
a girl or a boy. And that's what I've been exposing. Every time we have a case and I expose it to of course to Indonesian community, because I speak Indonesian and my partner is also Indonesian, and we bring up the topic, this is what's happening in Indonesia, this is what's happening with the boarding school, Islamic boarding school,
Mm,
because the government are not paying attention of
mm,
these schools. They have no regulation. They don't have a strict regulation for the boarding school, for the expensive Islamic boarding school with the strict regulation.
mm.
They are okay, but for this small boarding schools with their own curriculums, their own teacher, they pick their own teachers, that when you find lots of problems, and they are not cheap. Many parents sacrifice their life, their wealth, to be able to put their children into these boarding schools, expect that one day their son or daughters will be imam or will be a teacher of their religions. But in
Mm.
fact, when they came home pregnant, they've been abused, they're traumatized, they live with fear, and they've been sodomized, sort uh, abuse. That's what's happened in the boarding in these boarding schools.
In India, 99% of all these boarding schools, all these madrasas, they are boarding schools only. And many poor people, they send their children there because they get free food over there. So then the Maulavi who is teaching them there, he sexually abuses them also at night. I have one boy come to on my channel. He was in his teens. He said that every night he couldn't sleep. He kept one of his eyes open to see one boy, the good looking boys. The Maulvi used to place his hand over his VV, and then that's how it starts. And then there is a person who applies medicine if their uh, particular the part gets affected, then he applies some medicine over there. So there is a medicine person also over there. So the situation is worse in India, and they are asked not to disclose this to anybody and to keep it as a secret. And this trauma goes on, and they are not to speak about that because it is a matter of their own prestige, the families. So they won't believe the families on their own children are afraid to disclose it to their parents. So it's the same everywhere. In Indonesia also it's the same.
Yeah, wherever the majority mostly happen with the countries where I would say lack of education, lack of a discipline, um, lack of authority,
Mm.
where corruptions are, because I know India is now um, the largest have the largest population in the world, and now it seems like India also have an issue with the Islams, with Pakistanis who immigrated to India. Am I correct me if I'm wrong? And also because India also next to Afghanistan. Am I correct? Or
Yes, it's like has even surpassed China. China used to be the number one in terms of population, but in India, when the India divided into two parts and half was given to Muslims and half for the Hindus were hospitable and they asked the Muslims to keep living there. And so, not all Muslims went to Pakistan. So, that was the most foolish thing. We divided the country and the cash and all the assets, and some Muslims remained behind and they multiplied. Whereas the Hindus over there were all killed. In Pakistan, the statistics of Hindus has declined to very low percentage, whereas in India they multiplied and they multiply exponentially. So they have become a nuisance. Since our government is still Hindu, so we have little bit say. But in Indonesia, your government is Muslim, I suppose. So that's why when you complain about these sexual abuses going in madrasas or boarding schools, they don't listen because they already expect that. That's what my thinking is.
Well, in Islamic religion, in their Quran and their Hadith itself, what they do actually not against the Sharia law. In Islamic law, the Prophet Muhammad, as an example, of um, their prophet, giving an example, he marrying a 6 years old child, and then start penetrating at the age of 9, and also have many young wives,
Mm.
and it's become the role of their religion. What's so funny is Indonesia itself is a democratic nation, not Islamic nation, but many of the law slowly turn into the Islamic law. Like they have the blasphemy law, this blasphemy law just to protect
Mm.
Islam and the religion from being attacked, um, exposing from being exposed. So, for example, I'm a Christian. If I read the Quran and expose the Quran, they call me. They will call me um, a blaspheme,
Mm.
blaspheme against their religion. Even though what I'm doing is just read, and they say, well, because you're a Christian, you have no right to read our Quran. But it's okay for them to blaspheme our Bible. It's okay
Yes.
for them to mock our God. And it's like
See this.
no big deal. It's exactly like no big deal if you mock our Jesus. It's no big
Mm.
deal if you're threatening our lives. But it's a big deal if we just read their Quran.
The blasphemy in law is not to protect Islam but to attack others. This, later on, as time goes on, they will start attacking and killing people, and then they will say that he has, blasphemized or he has said something against Islam, even though that person has not said anything. So, this is their modus operandi. They start with this that, oh, you have said something against Islam. Later on, it will become like they will for no matter they will just decapitate a person, and they will say that, oh, he said something against Islam, even though that is not true. So this is just a strategy to kill other people without any cause.
I think you're right.
That has
I
happened.
think you're right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right when you
See, in
say that
Pakistan it happened.
blasphemy law. Yeah,
This
I think you're
person
right
didn't
when you
know.
say.
Yeah, he had seen a poster and he just thought that the poster didn't understand it, and he just removed or did something, and they killed him brutally. So that's just a strategy.
Yeah, yeah. I say it again. I think you were right when you say that the blasphemy law is not to protect their religion, but to attack other people when they start speaking out against their religion. And I think you're right because one of my friend, also an ex-Muslims, he he was reading the Quran, Surah 71, about Al Jinn. It's called, the Quran's name is the Al Jinn. Reading that the Prophet Muhammad was surrounding by jinn, by, I mean, jinns, right? Surrounding by jinn, not by the angels. And then when you read the Quran, you're inviting jinns to come to you, to listen to the this reading of the Quran, and which is true. By just by that statement in some of his YouTube YouTube monologue, he charged for 10 years in prison. And then during the trials, he was abused in jail. He even forced to uh, eat somebody else feces, and he was beaten, broken bones, and then now he experienced more illness in jail. His body is fall apart. So what they mean to put him 10 years in prison, they expect him to die in jail, in the prison, so he will no longer expose Islam. And also, it's a way to expose, it's a way to threatening. If you do this to our religion, this is what's happened to you.
Mm.
And this is the reason why a lot of Christian apologetic in Indonesia has to be really careful what they say. They have to hide their face, fake
Mm.
name, and they have to use a VPN so they cannot locate whereabouts their location, because the police are constantly tracking these people, whoever expose Islam. And you will find a report. Oh, this Muslim report this is happens all the time. Yeah, and you don't have to do anything. Just expose. Just say Islamic prayer, and then you eat, for example, eat pig, you eat pork. They call it blasphemy law. And
Mm.
one Muslim, she ate pork. It just kind of chewing a little bit pork with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, with the opening prayer, and she got sentenced to jail for, I don't know, maybe like 3 years, just
Yeah.
for saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and eat pork. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
In Saudi Arabia, if they are having this Ramadan or the fasting month, if they find you eating food, they will put you in jail. So they impose their religion on other people.
That's true. Yeah, it's happened in Indonesia, in Ramadan, where it's the whole month of fasting. The police are tracking down every restaurant who open in the midday.
Mm.
Ridiculous, really ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
other religion who are not Muslim, they forced to starve. They forced to follow their religion, even though Islam is not in the constitution. But funny things, when you have Islam as a majority, that's when the chaotics begin. We can see what's happened in Britain, in
Sweden.
France, yeah, France, Sweden,
Yeah.
per se. We can see that.
It's the
Well,
same
not
modus
because
operandi. Yes.
exactly that is
So
true. So India has to be
coming back
very
to your
careful.
experience, you
Uh-huh.
were saying that you started reading Quran and in other language and memorizing, and you noticed some discrepancies or some questions you had, but they would not answer. Then what happened?
Yes,
What kind of
a lot of
questions did you have?
question. Well, the question is really simple question. The Quran say uh, Allah can do anything. Allah is Maha. Maha mean the most. He can do anything. He can do everything. He is able, right? He said he is able. But then the other things, the other in the Quran also, that you cannot talk to Allah. Allah is not a human. And there's some in Arabic, when we translate it, Allah is the most appear, or what do you say, he can appear, he was born. So my question to my ustad, if Allah can appear, how come in the other Quran say you cannot see Allah, you cannot see God? You can only see God when you die. But in the other scripture that Allah is appear as a man, with the green
In
shirt.
what in Quran? Do you know the verse where Allah appears as a person?
I don't remember.
Hmm.
Uh, Maybe one of my friend in the chat room able to say that Allah is appear, and in the names of Allah, 100 names of Allah, it's appear that Allah is a Khairul Makirin.
Yeah.
Khairul Makirin is Allah is the best deceiver. My question, if my God is the best deceiver, it could be that he deceived me into this. You know, the question is on and on and on and on going. And then every time I ask my ustad, my teacher, but all of this question, he said that the Quran say you're not allowed to ask any question concerning the Quran, concerning Allah and Muhammad, or you're going to leave Islam. So in another word, you're not allowed to have any question.
Yeah. I just know that these are the different Quran verses that say that Allah has eyes, He has two right hands, He has a shin, He has a foot, He has a face.
That means you can see Allah.
Yes,
It has appearance. It has
yes,
a physical appearance.
yes. And He's
And
seated on a
then
throne. And He's seated
the
on a
throne,
throne and it is held by a. So all these things means that He is a person and He's sitting.
he's a person. He's a
Hmm.
person. And also in other, the Quran says that Allah sitting on the arshi.
Hmm.
Arshi means water. Water.
Yes.
What is the biggest water in the world? It's in the ocean,
Hmm.
right? That Allah sit on the Arshi. And the other Quran say that Satan also sit on the Arshi. So who is really sitting on the Arshi? Allah or the devil? Because both of them are sitting on the Arshi.
So,
So those
what other
questions.
questions? This was one of your questions. What other questions did you have?
The other question, I have so many questions. The other question, when a lot of people claims that Islam is the religious of peace, the religion of peace.
Mm.
Islam is peace. Islam is love. But when I see the Quran itself, when I read it with my own understanding, which is an Indonesian translation, there is no way that Islam can be a religion of peace. When in the Al-Ma'idah um, says that whenever you find unbeliever, make a war against them until they say La ilaha illallah, ashhadu la ilaha illallah, and become or embrace Allah's religion, or they pay a heavily tax. So I don't think that verse, a verse of peace. Like whenever I find any unbeliever, any ex or non-Muslim, I have to make a war against them, and you have to push that person until they can no longer make a way. You gotta push them and push to the ditch. That's not peace.
PIECE, peace.
Yeah, it's not peace. It's um, not pace, but peace.
Yes,
Like uh,
like pieces.
like peace. Peace is, let me type. Um,
PIECE, peace.
yeah, peace.
Yeah.
That one.
So that was your second question. What was the third question?
There are many questions when they say that Allah can hear you. Okay, if you have a doubt, other people cannot answer. You can ask Allah, and Allah will hear you, and Allah will answer, and Allah will give the sign that. Uh, I'm sorry, not peace, but I'm sorry, peace, not peace.
This peace.
No, peace, peace. If you
No,
can you
I think
see?
it should be this. I
No,
think
no,
this should be
peace,
there.
peace. What you type piece is this. It's a one
Yes,
piece, two piece.
yes.
Not
I,
that one. Not that
that
one.
that's what my
Not that
answer
one.
is. Like Islam writes it wrong. It's not. It cannot be PEACE. It has to be this
Right.
piece.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what was the question again? And the
So,
other
that
thing,
was your
that's what
second
they
question.
say.
What's your third
Yeah.
question?
The others say that if you have a doubt, um, with Allah and Muhammad, you can go as straight to Allah in prayers. So I did. I prayed tahajjud from 2 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning. So 3 hours I pray. Yeah, 3 hours I
Wow.
ask Allah to be appear, and there is no signs of Allah appear to me. There is no sign that Allah can even hear me. So I threaten Allah. I threaten Him. If I don't hear you until the roosters shout, the roosters awake, then this is my last day to worship you. And then until the end of my prayer, I don't hear anything. 3 hours I pray, from 2 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock,
Mm.
and that's it.
It
And
reminds
until
me of
now,
one guy. He came to my
mm-hmm,
channel and he was very, very poor. And he prayed that he had a small piece of land on which he did farming. And he was so much in debt and he was so poor, he didn't have money to even eat food. And his a piece of land didn't grow anything. So he prayed to Allah whole day. He said, "I'll give me something," but nothing happened. And he said he was so passionate about God appearing, Allah appearing, and he asking for even necessary food to survive, but he didn't. And then these Maulavis or these Islamist educationists, he went to them for help, and they said that they would buy his land, and that too they didn't give him the land. They didn't give him money for land. They gave him very little money, and that's why he left Islam. I just was
yeah,
reminded when you said
it's
whole day.
phenomenal. It's become phenomenal. Back in 1999, when I left Islam, the percentage of Muslim in Indonesia was probably 90% Muslims in Indonesia. But now, come to reality that the Muslim population, this is not including those who hide their identity as an ex-Muslim, down to 80%. So since 99 until today, uh, the percentage of Muslims is low to 10%, and that's a lot of people. And that's not including those ex-Muslims who still hide their identity. In fact, we just baptized one ex-Muslims from the boarding house, and she was a teacher from the boarding house. And then she come at the conclusion that uh, Islam is not for her. So we baptized her, and now she's on our discipleship. And praise God. And nothing is impossible with God. And also, I have just a testimony from one of my partners. He also an ex-Muslim. Since he left Islam, the governments, the neighborhood, are neglected him and his family. One day when they just finish worship on Sunday, because we do worship on Sunday, he only have, say, in our money like 30 cents. That's all he has, 30 cents. So with the 30 cents, he has two children, so four that he has to feed. With the 30 cents, he bought two packets noodles, and then they cooked those two packets noodle and divide it into four. And uh, he asked God, he asked Jesus, and he basically asking, Lord, what am I gonna do? I don't have anything anymore. What about tomorrow? How am I going to feed my two children and my wife? Because I'm as a head of the household, I have to supply their needs. And then not long after that, somebody's knocking the door to say, "Hey, do you want to work tomorrow?" It's like a labor work. So he got a job. The next day, he got a job, and in half a day of work, he was able to receive $80. That's a
Wow.
praise God. His prayer answered.
So coming back to your story, so you had these 3 4 questions in your mind, and you went to the ustads, and they were not able to answer. So you thought,
Nope.
let me leave Islam.
Well, not just that, seeing the horrific tragedy on 98. If you check on the um, 98 May 98 tragedy in Indonesia, you can Google up, and that's also what made me decide to leave Islam, because on the May 98, the tragedy 98, that was a plan by our group. I joined the hidden terrorist group, and that was a plan. You can check
You mean
on
this
the
one?
May.
This one?
Yes, yeah, riots of Indonesia. That's what's happened. And one of my friend's sister, yeah, he's Chinese. One of my friend's sister was raped on the street, mass rape on the street, while she's about to leave her campus in West Jakarta,
But
and then
she was
on
a
the way
Muslim. Then
home,
why was she raped?
she was not a Muslim. She was not a Muslim. She was Chinese.
Oh.
She
So
was
she
Chinese.
must not be wearing a hijab. Most times, I think that the Muslim women, they say that, oh, hijab is
To
our
protect,
choice,
yeah,
but
to wear
they
hijab,
want to
yeah.
demarcate these Muslim women so that the other ones are raped and not their own Muslim women. Because once they are
Well, at
raped
that
by
time,
mistake, they cannot claim it as a rape, but they'll be charged for adultery. So that's why maybe
at
they
this
wear
time,
hijab.
it's a different thing. It's at this time, it was a plan to attack Chinese, especially a Christian Chinese. You know, if really Islam is the religion of peaceful, that's not going to happen to my friend's sister. She was a mass rape, a gangster rape on the street, and they left her naked on the street.
So you said you
You know?
joined this terrorist group. And so
Yes,
you felt offended that the group that you joined mass raped a Chinese girl.
it's not. It's not exactly on my people from our group. This is from just the Muslim in general, because they believe that they have rights. Because the Muslim believe that they have rights of these people. The Prophet Muhammad say, fight them whenever you find them. Fight the unbeliever whenever you find them. So they have a right to rape. They have a right to rob, to kill. That's what they do.
Hmm.
And then uh, at the same time, it happened to one of my friend's sister. So that give me a think, like a light bulb's on.
mm,
what is really going on with my religion? What is my religion really? What
mm.
is it? So those questions kind of builds up, and no one can answer. And also at the same time, when I was in Islam, my career is like stuck. I never have. It's like the religion stopped me from having career as a women in freedom.
Yes.
But as soon as I leave Islam, I become uh,
You can choose any
independent
career.
thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I become an independent thinker,
Yeah.
and then when I see where my career is start going up and going up and going up. So in Islam, you cannot have those kind of careers, because uh, the Quran say that women only have a half of a brain, and then uh, men are the master of women. So women has to obey the men. Women cannot leave the house without the permission of the husband. That's in Islam.
Not
And
only that, Muhammad said that women, since they don't earn, first of all, he stopped all the avenues for women having a career of their own. Now, once they are dependent, he's saying in a verse that women should lick the pus and the ulcer of the man because he's earning. I have that
yeah,
verse, and it's so disgusting. Like the level of demotion he did for women. And even if a woman is pregnant and she's sitting on a camel, if her husband calls her for sex, she should have it. Even
yeah.
when she's birthing, even if she's birthing, if he calls her for sex, she should go for sex.
Well, Anisa 24 and Anisa 34, it says right there that if the women's refuse, uh, the husband can beat the hell
Yeah.
out of a woman,
Mm,
and
mm,
a woman is just like a tilting ground, and you can tilt anytime you want, whatever, however
yeah.
you want it. So even if a woman have a menstruation or in
Mm,
periods or in pain, it doesn't matter. Whatever,
mm.
it doesn't matter whether women cannot or in pain or sick. You have to satisfy your husband.
Yes.
This is become the issue to me.
You know
Because I'm a
BDSM. Do you know about this term called BDSM?
BDSM. I don't know what is
It's
that.
a bondage. It's bondage, dominance, masochism. It's like uh, it's a sexual kinky game. They play master and submissive, or between master and slave. So
Oh
I
yeah,
if
yeah,
somebody asks me to define Islam, I would say just this word, BDSM. And Wafa Sultan, if you know, in her book she says that there is no relationship in Islam. Every relationship is master and slave. She was born in Arab, and she says that people who think about this Islam in other countries, she says they're stupid. They don't know. In Arab, every child knows what Islam is, like what is killing, and they say it openly. And she said that it is like master and slave. As soon as you talk, a father is the master, the children are slave. There is no other
yeah.
relationship other than master and slave. A woman is a slave, her husband is the master. An employer is a master, an employee is a slave. So whenever you talk to a Muslim, they will first establish who is the master and who is the slave.
Another thing too. I'm so glad that I left Islam. I
Mm.
am anti polygamy. In
Mm.
Islam, uh, men can have up to 4 wives, even though Muhammad have 13 wives. So men allowed to have 4 wives, and then men
At
also
one time.
allowed to.
at
Yeah,
one
you can
time.
have four
I
wives
know
at one
a
time in one
person who had
house.
96 wives. He would keep having
Wow.
four at one time. He would keep divorcing one and having a new one. So he can have any number of wives at one given time. He
As
should
long
not
as
have more.
four at this, as long as you have four at one time, and
Mm.
also men allowed to have what do you call it, like a slave, not a slave, but assistants. You know, the housing assistants. You can sleep with her. You
Yeah.
can sleep with women in transaction or a mut'ah.
Mm.
Mut'ah means a
Yeah.
temporary marriage.
Yes. Yes.
If I pay you, or if a man pay the women and agree on a certain amount, man can have sex with her in agreement, and then
Yes.
if both of them are satisfied, then the payment, uh, has to be paid. It what's the difference than a prostitution?
Yes. Exactly. And I'll tell you, Lynn, that there was this girl, this man who came on the channel once, and he said that his mother was sexually abusing him because his mother was married when she was a little girl, and his father was very old. So women are not allowed outside. So when she grew up little bit, she had started having these sexual feelings, and she started taking it on her own son. So it's like an abuser abuse
Wow.
cycle, and it goes on in multiple dimensions, and it's like pedophilia, polygamy, and all this sexual abuse. This keeps on multiplying in many vulgar ways.
There is no pedophilia in Islam uh, uh, dictionary, because the Prophet Muhammad did, as an example. So there
Yeah.
is no such a thing as pedophilia.
There is
Everything
no
is because
punishment
in
for
the name
rape
of Allah.
also. There
No,
is
there
no
is no
punishment of rape.
punishment. No, and you cannot accuse men to rape
Yeah.
unless you have four witness, four men who witness that you were raped. I mean,
Yeah.
these four men have to witness that this man penetrate you, and this man has to be able to explain to the judge,
Yeah.
yes, judge, this man penetrate his genital into
Yes.
this woman genital in such a way, in such a way, such a way.
So why
So
won't
that's
those four men
ridiculous.
stop the rape? Why would they keep watching and not stop the rape? I don't
That's
understand. And
that's my
rape is done.
concern.
And rape is always done in like remote places. It's not done where four people can watch. So that's such a stupid thing.
Exactly. So if you accuse, oh, this man raped me, and you have no witness, there is no four man witness that he penetrate you, there is no rape.
Yeah.
And the woman has to pay the consequences because he accused the man. So this is a ridiculous law. And
Actually,
the
he was
other thing
against his
too.
mother. Muhammad was his mother left him when he was 6 years old. So he was
Mhm.
taking it out on all women. So he was. That's why everything. All his verses suggest that he is so much hateful of women.
Yeah, that's
Everything.
true.
So you
Because he
decided to
hates
leave
women so
Islam.
much.
When you decided to leave Islam, did you speak about this to your parents, and what was their reaction?
I spoke to my mom. My mom is the first one who knows that I left Islam, because I have a close relationship with my mom. Oh, she was crying. She's crying almost every day. Who gonna bury me? Who gonna
Mm.
pray for me? You know, what's happened if I die and you're not praying for me? So she put me into a guilt. You know, that's what Muslims do,
Hmm.
make you feeling guilty. And then no other family knows that I left Islam until uh, nobody knows. I was agnostic for
Hmm.
13 years.
Hmm.
And after I left Islam, I left agnostic. I mean, searching for the truth. searching for the true God, searching for God who can answer my question. So
Mm,
that's my challenge to God. Whoever you are, God, that's my challenge is if you can answer my question, you'll be my God. And Jesus answered my question. So he is my God. So um how do
So,
I'm thinking what I want to say.
so your parents now, did they change? Your father,
Yeah.
he must have come to know that you left
No, he
Islam.
doesn't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know
Mm,
until I uh I receive I become a Christian here in America. I left Indonesia uh the end of January 2001, until now.
mm,
Uh 2012 I become a Christian, and then 2013 when I finally tell my dad. My mom passed away on September 11, 2001, exactly as the Twin Tower got hit. Um, that's when I told my dad I become open that I left Islam and I become a Christian. And then my dad disowned me, as a child at that time. So that was like become a last conversation.
mm,
But praise God, we have a build. We reconnect
mm,
again. We reconnect again. And then my uncle, as soon as I told him about my new faith, he wants to kill me. He
mm,
say he will be the first one who will separate my head from my body.
mm.
That's what he said. And until
So,
today,
mm.
it's still the same.
So when you were Islamist that time, were they not speaking about your marriage? Because my guess is that they start marrying their girls at a tender age.
I'm a different. I'm not into marriage actually. I'm very independent.
Now you are,
Very
but when you were a
independent.
Muslim, when
I
you were
was.
little,
I was. I was.
and that
I was
time,
so independent. Yeah, I'm very independent. I'm a tomboy, or it's like look like a boy, dress like a boy, but I'm not a boy. I'm a pure woman.
tomboy, you're a tomboy.
Yeah, tomboy. Yeah, and I'm not into marriage. I'm not thinking about marriage at all. I have a lot
Mm,
of male friends, but
mm.
I'm not into relationship. I'm into career and devote my life to God. I'm a
That's
very
now. I was
devotional
talking about
woman.
when you were a Muslim. When you were a
Same, yeah.
Muslim,
Yeah, when I was a Muslim,
so,
I was a very devotional woman. That's why I
yeah,
joined this terrorist group.
yes, but that time your parents didn't think about marrying you.
They kept asking me to get married, to marry.
Mm,
I'm just not into marriage. So
mm,
if I can go to heaven with jihad without marriage, why do I have to go through marriage?
mm. One of the girls asked one Maulana, famous, like has a very esteemed position in Islamic society. She asked him, "What will all the men will get these 72 virgins? What will women get? What will I get?" So he said that, well, you will become the head of all these virgins. Like you will be the head person over them. That you will decide like who is going to have sex with my husband. So who would want that position?
Yeah, I don't think any women will want it to that position. And the
Ye-
Quran says that most women are in hell anyway.
Yeah,
They got this 72 virgins from hell, not really a human being.
yeah. I mean,
This is just a ridiculous promise by their God.
135 feet tall, with their transparent skin and voluptuous body and boobs and big eyes and all that. This is all dreams of a desert dweller who didn't have these things. So, like after death, everybody will have new bodies and they'll become 30-year old and they will have uh, erection, permanent erection. That's not possible. So all these stupid things are written there which are not
Yeah.
feasible.
Yeah, actually, the if you go to the original translation, it says maiden. They will receive 72 maidens.
Mm,
Maidens are not a fully formed a women. Like a fully
mm,
formed women are in
mm,
their 30s. But
mm.
maidens, when you
No,
go
no,
to
men will
Google,
become 30s, not maidens. The
yeah,
men
yeah,
who are
not,
dead
yeah, but
in their
thi-
when they get up on the day of
I
this
know,
thing. Yeah.
but yeah, I know, but they have the wrong imagination. If maiden, if you go to the ages of maiden, they are
Mm,
between 12 years old to 19 years old.
mhm.
When you're 12 years old, you don't have a big boobies like a Playboy magazine cover. You don't have it. 15 years old, you don't have that big boobies as their imagination, like a papaya or like a melon. You don't have it. you know they have the wrong imagination. Maidens
Yes,
12 to 19 years old, they like children's, they like women when they just flowering, it's a
yes.
virgin, it just grown up
Well,
as
they'll
a
have
woman.
small boys also. Gilema. They will have
That's true.
small
Yeah, they
boys
have
also.
they have boys. Their heavens are no different than
A
a
brothel, a
boarding
divine brothel.
brothel. Yeah, like a brothel
Yeah.
or a house of prostitution. Who wants that? I
Yeah,
don't think any woman wants that.
and these people still believe that they are going to have such a thing.
I
It's
know that's
incredible. Even people who are educated and they know they are doctors, engineers, they would believe such stupid things.
yeah. Well, that's become my job now. That's become my responsibility to expose
Yes. And do you know
Islam.
the nine kinds of deception in Islam? That the ninth one is called muruna, and in that they try and become other people like other people, and they will have their imitate their culture, and they will start living within them, and you will not be able to spot them. That's a biggest kind of deception. And there are many small cults that have grown in India, and they don't recognize Islam, but they are Islamist in origin. And you'll be surprised that they have inserted Allah into them and Hindu deities in them, and they are prospering in India because they people don't know. They see the Hindu deities, they think it's a Hinduism. It's not Hinduism. For example, Brahma Kumari cult, they all show Hindu gods, but they are in fact Islamist in origin. There are many such cults in India. That's
Yeah.
something you should look into too, because in Indonesia also they might start something like that. You will not know it is Islam. It will have everything, a little bit of Islam in it, and they will merge it with some other culture, and they will try and deceive people like that.
Right.
Like if you don't come and in this trap, let me set 10 other types of traps. If you will not come in this one, you'll come in this one, or this one, or that one. That's one more
Well,
thing.
there's a lot of cults, not just in India, Pakistan, or in Indonesia. Cults are everywhere.
Mm.
Um, in Islam itself, they have a sect called Ahmadiyah. Ahmadiyya believes that Isa are already coming to the world, and they have their own prophets. So they believe that Muhammad was not the last prophet. They have their own prophets. It's called Ahmadiyya,
They are not
and
recognized with either Muslims. They don't. They throw stones at Ahmadiyya in Pakistan. They say Ahmadiyya are not the
really,
people. Yeah, they are not Muslims. They say that they are
yeah,
somebody called Husseinis also. And there is
Husseinis,
some,
yeah, we have
yeah,
Husseinis.
Husseinis.
Mm-hmm.
They say we are Husseini Brahmins, and they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
merge with Hinduism, and they call there is one priest of a Islamic mosque. He came to my channel, and he said that we believe in Allah as well as we Shiva, and in Hindu deities also. That's because they think that Sanatanis or the Hindus are very rich people and they will give gold and other things. So they have said, oh, yeah, we believe in this also. But actually, they are
Mm-hmm.
suicide bombers. They are Aga Khani Muslims. Have you heard about Aga Khani Muslims?
No, I don't know about Aga Khan Muslim,
Aga
but
Khani,
the
they
suicide
have horses.
bombers,
Yeah, they have
but the
horses. Like they
like
show
in
that they have a
Afghanistan,
business of horses, but actually they
yeah.
don't have. That is the outside thing. But inside they are the suicide bombers.
Like yeah. Well, the suicide bomber are the true Islam because
Yeah.
in Islam you have to make a war, you have
Yes.
to excuse my language to kill
Yes.
uh, others believers others than Muslims,
Mm,
and that over and over in the Quran. Kill them, make a war against them,
mm,
pressure them, make a terror
mm,
against them. That's on and on and on and on, you
mm.
know.
I was reading
And
their book, and they said
mhm,
that if a farmer is doing farming and is happy and is a Muslim, he will go to hell unless he does jihad in the way of Allah. So they have to do the jihad, and
yeah,
the biggest
that's true.
jihad is in which the horse dies, and there is a lot of blood. That is the biggest form of jihad, and that kind of jihadi will have the seventh layer in the heaven.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's
And
like that's a
yeah,
ridiculous promise.
and
You know,
Muslims,
all their
mhm, they are
their
trying to make.
heavens,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, their heavens. It's full of sexual uh, activities. You know,
Yeah,
they say, "Oh, this is something that we hold on to." You know, sex parties. That's what a man thinks. Always sex parties, and we're going to have that in Jannah. Uh, I'm speechless with that ideology.
yes. And nowadays they make excuses saying that, oh, jihad is internal jihad to kill all your. They try and copy the Hindus because in Hinduism, all the scriptures say to kill the inner vices like anger and all that. So they have copied that from there, and they say, oh, jihad means the internal killing of all these vices in us. It is called jihad. But here it is wrong because in their book it says that if you are disabled and cannot go for jihad, so the disabled are excused, and if you are sick, then when you become better, then you have to do the jihad. So if it was in internal jihad, this verse would not have come. So it's an outright lie.
Yeah, just an excuse. Well, my last word for anyone who watch this channels, because I connected to my channels as well, one channel which is Live Islam Now. You can go to Live Islam Now channels. You will find our materials from historical. We expose from the historical, from the Quran, and from archaeologies, and also from their own books. You know, today in today's society, um, we have to think again about this religion. Is the violence that they spread on Islam? Their book speak for itself that Islam is full of violence. Will this fit into today's society? Will this fit into your family? You know, you don't know Islam until you study the Quran. And most people don't know Islam because they don't know their Quran. They pray using the Arabic language and they do not understand what they are praying about. They read the Quran, but they do not understand what they've read. So, my suggestion, my advice to you, study the Quran with your language, study the Hadith, and think about whether it's fit for you and your family or not. That's my challenge for you, for all of you. Uh, challenge for everyone.
So much. Thank you for coming and sharing all your experience and your story. And so, how do you feel now after leaving Islam? Do you
I
think that
feel
you
good.
feel
That's my best decision in my entire life. Leave Islam. That's like the best decision at that time. But my best decision is when I have Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ saved me from all wrong. That's the best decision I've ever decided. It's good to live Islam, and it's best when I have Jesus Christ. If I have Jesus Christ, I don't need anything else. That's all.
so? You it's been 13 years you left Islam.
Yeah, since 2012 I left Islam, so it's 12 years. 12
Mhm.
years, yeah.
And does your uncle who wanted to who threatened you try to locate you in US, or anybody keeping tabs on you?
Well, the whole Indonesia now trying to locate me. I receive a lot of death threat by
Wow.
email, by messaging, by TikTok. I receive a lot of death threats. And that's become my pleasure. That's become the joy of my life. When I receive such a hateful comments, even right now in the YouTube, that's become my joy. I love
Mm.
them. And the more they hate me, the more they mock me or threaten me, the more I love them, the more I want to preach Christ, the more I want to expose Islam.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for coming on the channel and sharing your personal experience and telling about your
Thank you,
website.
Pretty.
And
Yeah, thank you, Pretty, for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.
Everybody who is watching, please like, share, and subscribe. And please share this stream as much as possible, because we want to awaken those people who are sleeping and who do not know about, who are seculars and they think that all religions are same. Please, all religions are not same. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.